is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 5 worst/disappointing games of 2020. Now, a lot of games come out throughout the year, and not all of them can be good. Now, I believe last year we did a separate top 5 worst and then a separate top 5 disappointing, but this year, either there weren't a whole lot of games that were released, or, through basically lack of conventions, we didn't get to play as many as we normally would, so we had to combine this list. However, that still doesn't mean that there weren't at least 5 that didn't quite make it up to the standard of where we look at now. So, Brad, this is also kind of a pretty simple list to make. Did you go in just kind of disappointing to worst, or did you go in, because that's what I did, the number?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how mine was too.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of weird to have a worst and then like at number 3 and then a disappointing at number 2 or something. So yeah, our dishonorable mention is kind of like there at disappointing, and then gradually as the list goes on, it just gets to dog shit games. So, are you ready?
Yep.
Because I am. I love these lists. They're so fun to do. My dishonorable mention for 2020 in this list is Tang Garden. Now, this is such a disappointment because the first time I played this game, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of fun. But as I played it more and more, there were a lot of mechanisms that actually started to bug me. One of which is very much that random card draw, because on your turn, you either can lay a tile or you can draw for a decoration. Now, I understand, and I know people are going to say this, oh, but they fixed it. There's a new way you can play. I get that. But that's not the rules that they put forth, so I have to rank it and judge it as is. But besides that, because basically what you do is if you draw from a decoration, the decorations can only be placed on certain tiles, or certain like flowers can only go in green forest or green location. Trees can only go in green locations. And if those aren't available, then you basically just wasted your whole turn. And that kind of gives your opponents the opportunity to either play a tile that you might have also wanted to play, or if you place tiles, because you draw a number of cards equal to how many face-up tiles there aren't, plus 2. So it's like you draw 2, and let's say there are 2 empty tiles out of 4, then you would draw 4 cards. So you're supposed to increase your chances of getting something that you can play. However, it felt like if you place the tile, then you were just helping your opponent, because then they could just draw more. Now, granted, it's still random for them, so if they can't place anything, then you're like, yay, but you really didn't do anything to prevent them from being able to place something. Or if you do place something and you're like, yep, I'm going to gain a bonus, I added a green spot so I can place a tree if I happen to draw one, and then they're like, oh, great, okay, now I'm going to draw. Oh, now I get to place a tree. So you basically are doing all the work just for someone else to gain the benefits. At the end of the day, this game was all icing but no cake for me. It's gorgeous. This game is amazing. All the 3D terrain, it's phenomenal. But it's like, yeah, this looks good, has table presence, no meat to it. So that's kind of where it ended up being disappointing for me. Once again, like I said, the list is ranked off of more disappointing. I don't hate this game, but the potential for it to be as good as it could have been, especially with the presentation it offered, it just fell flat. So that is that's my dishonorable mention at in Garden.
All right. Mine is
Oh, well, this doesn't surprise me. All the tiny epic games suck.
Well, and that's what I've learned. I'm just going to stop playing them after this one, because the only one that I've played ever that is decent is Galaxies.
Yeah. I think that's the general favorite of a lot of people.
So
Galaxies. I think some people like Defenders quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I didn't care for that one, but anyway, This one, if you like Dinosaur Island, play Dinosaur Island. I mean, that's because pretty much you are dinosaur ranchers in this.
Uh-huh.
So you are breeding.
A game of dinosaur
Yeah.
ranching.
You are breeding dinosaurs, selling them off, raising them, gathering resources, and then you are building your ranch more. That's it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you have meat hooks, like the dinosaurs are super tiny. Like,
well, yeah, you should have expected that. It's tiny.
well, I know, but
epic dinosaurs.
But it's I don't know. The tiny epic stuff just is kind of like, I'm done with them.
Yeah, I
No.
honestly don't get it. Like, it's like, hey, here's a good idea, but let's omit everything good about it and just make it tiny. It's like, it's not like it's one of those gem games where it's like, oh, this game has so much meat in the box. It's like, no, it's a half-assed concept with half-assed, but it's tiny, so you gotta get the gimmick.
And the thing is if they, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I almost want to get all of them because how many do they have now? Like a shit ton.
Gosh.
I almost
Yeah.
want to get them just so I can rank them. Because now we kind of do those. I do the ranking list if they're in a particular thing.
Yeah.
Like a genre. But man, I just don't want to spend the money on these games. At least they're not expensive.
Right. The thing is like, you would think this company has pigeonholed themselves into these tiny epic games, or the ultra tiny. They even have ultra tiny epic now on some of them. But then they come out and they put out a game like Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea that is a huge, monstrous, sprawling, multi-level game, and they did that one really well. So it's like, I don't know why they continually go back to this.
I honestly think it's a gimmick. They know people are going to buy it. So why not keep making it? We'll just put the tiny epic staple on it or stamp and put it with whatever. Tiny epic fucking diseases. I don't know. I mean, that would be kind of thematic. Tiny epic stealing your money because you keep buying these games. I don't know.
Tiny epic.
I mean, because they even had like freaking Tiny Epic Quest, which is the one that I bought, and because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it has like the meeples that hold the items, which is cute and that's kind of cool, but the game was just so go through the motion of the same thing over and over, and very blatantly rip off Legend of Zelda, which was the only plus for me. But yeah, I don't get these at all. So yeah. I get it. I get it. All right, now on to the actual list of worst/disappointing. Whoops. All right. Boom.
Are you ready?
Boom, boom, boom. Yep. Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time. Man. All right, so this is more disappointing than worse. The game is fine. It's a game that was made. Now, the reason why it is on this list is because there is an app. The game is an app. It was already. I mean, the Ironhide Game Studios, they basically already had this as a tower defense video game, and then Lucky Duck took that as, okay, well, we'll incorporate this game. Well, a couple things. One, it is my fault that I didn't know that this app existed. So I back this like, oh, a tower defense game. All right, cool. I'll get it. And then as I'm playing it, I'm like, this feels very appy. Like that a lot of the mechanics feel like they would work well in an app. Well, lo and behold, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And this game isn't bad. It works perfectly fine. It feels kind of like the video game. You have a sprawling map of all the games, and if you play on a certain difficulty, you place these stickers, like the star stickers, kind of like what Angry Birds, as how successful you were at doing it. You, as a group, play towers that allow you to kill monsters as they advance. It's a slight polyomino game. Everything works, except it's extremely fiddly. It's don't play this game. It's play the fucking app. Like, there's nothing that this game brings to the table that makes it any better. In fact, it makes, because you have these trays with cards on it that whenever you place all the polyominoes after you kill it, well, then you're like, okay, I did that. All right, now I have to take all those off, and then I have to pop it out, and then I have to move it, and then, without bumping into any of the towers. It's just, whereas you play the towers in the app, and then you automatically kill the people. Like, it just doesn't do anything where it's like, oh, wow, this is revolutionary to what the video game brings. No, it doesn't offer anything. I will say this game is horrendous with anything more than 2. Like, I mean, the solo, it would be okay, I guess, but man, and then from production wise, it's not as good. I mean, Lucky Duck, Vikings Gone Wild and Chronicles of Crime are phenomenal games. But even with Chronicles of Crime, they had their, snafu about their storage solution, where it's like, hey, here's 3 individual boxes. What about a full box? Okay, yeah, here's a full box to incorporate all of them. What about the base game? Nope, fuck you. And it's like, what? And then here, you have a cheap attempt at a game trays. I mean, it's better than nothing, but just go the distance. I probably would have kept this game if it came with game trays, like genuine by the company game trays, instead of loose, thin plastic and some not even lid that snaps on. So it's just, why bother?
I remember when this was on Kickstarter, because I put in for $1 just to get the Pledge Manager, because I knew it was an app, and I was hesitant on it. Only reason I was looking at it is because it was Lucky Duck, and then I ended up not getting it just because of that. And so I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah, smart. I mean, here's the thing: the game is not expensive. For everything, it's like $120. Now, obviously, that's subjective to who you are and your financial. But for me, and the amount of content that you got, you had like 25 or 30 different scenarios that you can have various levels of difficulty. You do have content here, and I mean, that is a plus, hence why it's disappointing more than worst. Like, if people came to me and they're like, oh, I really like Kingdom Rush, and my first response would be like, well, are you playing the app? And if they're like, oh, I don't like app games, but I like this, that's fine. I totally get it. Just for me, the fiddliness and the cumbersome nature of the game just didn't do it for me. That's not to say that if a game has an app version, that it's all of a sudden better, but some games it is. Sentinels of the Multiverse is a prime example of an app that's way better than the game. But Through the Ages, for example, is a prime example of the board game being just as, is good, and the app being just as good. So you can have both for convenience, but you can play both. Here, I wouldn't say the same thing. I'd be like, no, just play the app. So that's my number 5, Kingdom Rush Rift in Time.
All right, my number 5 is a disappointment.
Oh, ooh, yep. I remember seeing that.
It is one, I played it with my group here in town because one of their favorite games, one of their favorite things we've always played has been Small World.
Okay.
And I really like Small World. It's a good game and everything. So then when you throw out, World of Warcraft, I was like, oh, well, that's intriguing. I like Azeroth and all that, all that stuff. So I was like, this could be pretty sweet. And it's not. I mean, it is literally Small World with less abilities and less races. I mean, so have you played Small World?
Oh yeah, yes. Okay. I have everything for the core game. Every expansion that they've made, like the Underground and stuff, doesn't really do it for me. But the base game with the additional monsters and races,
But there's tons of them, right? This one, there's not very many. I mean,
oh wow.
I mean, you see it on the box. I mean, there's not much. And so then
Yeah,
when once you've played it once, a full game, you've pretty much seen them all. I
that's
mean, mind
disappointing.
you, there's combinations because of the powers with the races and stuff.
Sure.
I understand that, but part of the intrigue of regular Small World is there's a massive stack of races, and it's funny some of the
Hmm.
stuff that pops up. It's like they
Yeah.
tried almost putting a more of a serious spin on the game.
Yeah.
When they threw the Warcraft on there,
Yeah.
because the silliness of the original is part of the intrigue. When you get I can't even think of a good one off the top of my head, but there's just
No, I can't. But
some funny ass combinations that you get.
hmm.
That are but yeah, I mean, it is the same game. You move around, you go into decline eventually, you gain a coin for each zone you carry. I mean, it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
um Now that, mind you, this is just this right now. I don't know if it's popular enough that they're going to come out with expansions, but you really could only go so far with World of Warcraft. I mean, they have most of the races right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I remember seeing this and hearing it, and I have never played World of Warcraft because I wanted to have a life. Um, but uh, actually, that's not true. At this point I kind of am intrigued by it, especially because they brought it back, like the basic World of Warcraft, and
Mhm.
people were all into that. However, I was like, oh, this is a gimmick. This is a reskin. There's nothing that they're gonna make innovative about it, and based off uh, your perception that I was right. It's like, okay, I guess if you really love Small World and you really love World of Warcraft, there you go. Like, this is the game for a demographic that is probably really small.
Well, I think they missed the mark because Small World is in the fantasy world already. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
um, so it's like, if they're going to reskin it, pick something that's a
yeah, that's true.
slightly different genre. Go steampunk. Go
Yeah,
go something weird. Just
that's true.
it
Not
up a little
already
bit.
do fantasy. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because there's a
I mean,
lot of
there's
those. I mean, there's a lot of those
orcs
things that are
and
in the game. There's
yeah,
dwarves. It's like you're just kind of, it's like a money
you're
shell.
basically just saying, oh, it's not orcs. It's whatever the
Yeah,
race is called in World of Warcraft.
it's like Blizzard. Can we just throw your name on this and let's do this?
Yeah, yep, pretty much. So
But yeah, so
cool.
it
Yeah,
was a
totally get it.
disappointment. Yep.
Totally get it. All right, my number four for this list is Cosmic Colonies. Once again, a more disappointment than anything because of the publishers that made it. It's Floodgate, and they've done Vault Wars. They have done, Holy. They did Sagrada, News at 11. I love a lot of their games that they make, but this is just a slew of a polyomino game that apparently is a thing that every game has now. I mean, how many games of polyominoes I've played this year?
Tons.
Yeah, it's insane. Whether it's a focus point of the game or it's a subset, this game, that's all it is. And I mean, you have kind of a draft. Well, not really drafting, but it's like you have special powers or people, cards in your hand that have a special ability. They have either an ability that you can do, or like you can either build with them, or you can collect with them, and they have a certain amount of resources that they can take. But what you're doing is basically you'll play one, and then the person you play will go to your opponent, and it kind of cycles around players. So eventually, if someone uses someone that's really good, you will get that. You will eventually get that person, which is fine. That's an interesting idea. However, the number of tiles that you can purchase are limited. So it's like if someone takes a tile that you might have wanted, well, it's not like it's just like, okay, I guess that one's gone, so I'll just get nothing or I'll just collect. This game just ultimately had very little decision making to it, very bog standard, um, like just polyomino Tetris thing. And I mean, there's just better ones out there like that actually have some thought provoking nature to placing the fucking polyomino tiles that this one I don't think really has. So it's a game that I think is going to be easily forgotten. No one's really going to talk about it. And what's even more interesting is that this is our second game on the list that has Scott Alms's name on it, which is, I mean, with Tiny Epic Dinosaurs and then this one. So, which I was already, I've never been a fan of his games anyway. There was one this year that actually ended up being really good.
Warp's Edge, the game, that solo game that I put in our top of 20, that's Scott Alms.
Okay. Okay. So. Yeah. So, I mean, he's all over the place. So, I mean, naturally, you make, 200 games. Eventually, one of them is going to be good, right? This was not one of them. So, yeah, I mean, it's a game that exists, but our hopes because of Floodgate, and I guess just didn't work out. So that's my number.
It looks incredibly boring too.
Yeah. I mean, even then, it's like you have a tile or a playmat really that are all the same. So it's not like you have any variation, because you're trying to mine on an asteroid. That's the theme. And it's like, okay, I guess everyone has the same asteroid. There's no variation in like, okay, well, I'm going to get this one because it's a little bit different. Kind of like with Sagrada, where it's like I can take a harder, window to make, but I get more of those, ability tokens.
Right.
Like they could have done that here. Hey, I, have ability cards that people can use, and I'll take a harder asteroid to actually build or to try and mine on, but I get some more variation. Nope. There's nothing to this game. Like, it's there. And yeah, I mean, even the artwork is just kind of like some vague fucking city on whatever the hell that is, and it's brown. It's boring. So that's my number 4, Cosmic Colonies. 4.
All right. My number 4.
Oh, wow. The love letter one, huh?
Yes, Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. This game, I should have known before I even played it, because I'm a big fan of love letter anyway.
Yeah.
This game is a 1 versus mini version of love letter, which I did not know because I did not research it.
But you would assume, Marvel and love letter, 2 things.
Yeah, I figured that'd be kind of cool, So one person controls Thanos.
Okay.
The rest of the people playing are just, the heroes. So the heroes play love letter just like they normally would. Draw a card, play a card. And they'll be playing cards like Iron Man or Captain America, whatever. And you are trying to play those cards to knock Thanos' health down. You're trying to get him to 0. Thanos has his very own deck, and he gets to have 2 cards in his hand at all times. So he'll be playing minions or different odds and ends. And he wins if he kills all of you, or if he gets the Infinity Stones and snaps his fingers. Love letter is not meant to be a 1 versus mini game. I mean, love letter is supposed to be a game that you just play. It's super fast. You play a hand, play hand, play hand. This kind of drags it out, and it's just way too convoluted. I don't know what place this has in the deal. It's partially my bad because I didn't pay attention to that. I just figured love letter game, it was just going to be like another one of those mini variants of love letter that's all the same game, just different art.
Just a different for each person who wants a different theme besides the Renaissance medieval kind of feel.
So
yeah, that sounds really stupid.
It is
like I don't know. Obviously, capitalizing on the love letter fans and Marvel being such a huge thing.
And that's the thing with Marvel, like especially with this Infinity Gauntlet theme. Knowing this now, I would play Thanos Rising over this every single time because it'd be pure co-op, and it's got the dice roll, and all that stuff, and it's more of a
I mean,
one versus
you made a good point. Yeah, you made a really good point. Love Letter is a game that it's boom, 5 minutes and you're done with a round. Like,
Right.
hey, how many do we have? 3. Okay, this will work. But now you bring this out and it's like, how many do we have? Oh shit, 3. All right, one person, you have to learn this rule, and then these two have to learn these rules. So let's hope that you can figure it out. It's just one versus many games. I like them, don't get me wrong, but they are a very niche, genre, I think, because of that nature. Someone has to learn their side,
Right.
and then the other people have to learn their side. And most of the time, you don't really need. I mean, unless you want to be a optimal, you don't want to learn both sides. And usually, if you're the guy, you're usually always the guy.
Right.
But those have those. Everyone, if I brought out, the others, or Star Wars Imperial Assault, and it's like, okay, well, here's what we do. Everyone's understanding that kind of game. Here, it's like, oh, Love Letter, I like it. Oh, wait, you want it to be more complicated? No. Well, what if I brought out this game? That sounds dumb.
It indeed is.
All right.
All right.
There we go. Is Horizon Zero Dawn the board game? Man, what a genuinely bad game. This one was so frustrating because you've played the video game now, haven't you?
I own it. I have not started playing it yet.
Brad, you piece of shit! What have you been doing?
Hey, I have too many damn games. I got I'm playing Cyberpunk right now.
Oh man! All right. We're not going to go off on that tangent. But yeah, I love the video game. It is so good as a unique theme, unique world, RPG with a fantastic feminine character to follow as Aloy. Well, all of that can get thrown out the fucking window with this game. All it is you're some generic hunter from a generic tribe that you generically hunt monsters in a competitive setting. Because you're supposed to be in the game, there are these trials, and you're trying to join a lodge that allow you to. It's basically just, how in video games they have the those trials, the just challenges that you can do. Brad, you're not even listening.
Yeah. What's up? Sorry.
I
was listening. My dog is making noise upstairs. I was listening to that. Sorry.
Oh. But how video games have those trials that you can kind of do just to have additional challenges. Well, that's the theming of this game. Is you are competing with other players, and each monster you kill, you get victory points. If you kill the last monster, you get victory points, and then you just go up from there, and you get, items that you can equip. I mean, the items are all that are in the game. But wow, for the base game to literally have the Sawtooth as its final boss is insulting. Like, the Sawtooth is like your tutorial video game boss.
Oh, really?
In Horizon Zero Dawn. And then all the extra content that Horizon Zero Dawn, like especially this game, will be coming out, those are all genuinely big bosses. But you have to have all that extra content. You have to pay for it. So most people probably didn't do that. So they'll either grab this retail, if it even goes retail, or they're just like, so this is all that they might have. And there is nothing challenging about this game. It is obviously best solo, kind of like how Dark Souls was. But at least with Dark Souls, the bosses were great in that game. Everything that led up to that was awful in board game form. But at least when you got to the boss, they had their own unique deck. They had their behaviors that once you dealt damage, then you started shuffling their deck if you didn't know what they were going to do. The bosses were phenomenal in the Dark Souls game. Here, you build all this up, and by the time you're there, you're just OP, and you just one-shot it, and it's embarrassing. Such a disappointment. The minis were great, but I don't hold that up to any standard anymore because every game has great minis now. It's like you have to be truly exceptional to kind of be like to have a mini mention, you know. But yeah, this is number 3 because it was extremely disappointing for it to be so bog standard and lame, and it's worse because it's also not that fun. So that's my number 3, Horizon Zero Dawn, the board game.
Yeah, Steam Forged is they're just kind of blah.
They somehow get these IPs, and you know they're like they get the contract for the IP from like I can't remember who made this game, but like we'll use Dark Souls. They're like, thank you so much, and then they wipe their ass with it, and then they make games. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they made the Dark Souls card game, which I really like.
Yeah, they Resident Evil was a decent game, but it wasn't like outstanding or anything.
Yeah,
So.
it probably would have been better. It's like, yeah, here's your standard dungeon crawl, zombie killing, but I really like Resident Evil, so that kind of up. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan, so I stayed away from it. Oh, right. I love 4, and the awesome. Remake of 2 was amazing. Those were really, really good, but I'm not like running to the store to immediately buy the next one, you know?
Yeah.
And then Bard Sung, I initially backed, but then I'm like, I don't trust Steam Forged as a company.
Yeah.
Somehow they're going to fuck it up.
If it's good, you can always find it.
Exactly. So,
all right.
Yep.
So my number 3, this is where the turn really happens. So from disappointed to worst. Because I went into this game expecting it to be crap, but it's still and it indeed was. Come on. Okay. Switch for me. There we go.
Oh.
Okay.
Hold on. So before you go on your rant, I'm so glad you actually have this because I have some input.
Oh, good. Well, I don't like Splendor. Splendor is one of the most god-awful, boring games in the world. For some reason, my wife loves it. So
I have a very different opinion of your wife now. Okay.
But it's competitive, so that's one reason why she likes it, and it's simple, you know. So I knew going into this it was going to be crap because it had Splendor on it. But then again, they jump. I don't know what the deal is with these companies.
This is Space Cowboy. Interesting.
Yeah, because they've done all the Splendor stuff and everything. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, what is the obsession with doing this whole fucking Thanos Infinity Gauntlet bull crap for everything? Yep. You know, I mean, there's one game that's good that uses that, and that's the one I said earlier, the Thanos Rising. Other than that, but this one is pretty much you're just playing Splendor, and you're trying to gather, you're recruiting heroes and you're gathering stuff and trying to get the stones and shit. You know, have you played this one?
The Marvel one?
Yeah.
No, but my input is that I actually recently played Splendor last week.
Oh God.
And there's a guy that's in one of the groups that I'm in up here now. He brought it over, and I'm like, okay, I've never played it. I remember you saying that it was boring, and so we're sitting there, and I have these stupid gems in front of me, and I can only buy one card, and he takes it, and then he's just like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna, hold on to this so I can get my wild. And I was like, all right, I have immediately checked out. I do not like this game. You go through the motions. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get 2 gems. I'll get one of 3. All right, I can buy this card. Oh, because of my tableau now, I can get this card free. Is anyone at 15 points yet? Because can this take me over? The 45-minute game, and it's so blatant. Like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Like, why is it almost an hour? It's so bad.
Yeah, and
I'd probably enjoy this one better, at least Marvel. Like, did they do a 1 versus many with this one too?
No, it's not 1 versus many. It's just you're just getting locations and stuff, and you're trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet before he does.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
kind of puts a
I mean,
timer on it. I mean, but it's still just stupid.
I'm
You
not
know?
surprised. Like the that it's because of Endgame. I mean, the MCU made I mean, Marvel United was a game that came out. I mean, Marvel Champions, which at least Marvel Champions is fantastic. But
I understand that, but that movie's been out for a long time now. Dude, this game just came out this year. It's like, and the same
well,
thing
did
with the.
Endgame came out this year, didn't it?
No, I think it was way before the pandemic stuff.
Okay, yeah, it was last year. Huh.
But
It
it's like
was
they're
released.
riding the
Oh
same
yeah, okay,
year.
April 26th was when Endgame came out.
April
Wow,
26th
it
of.
felt like it was of 2019.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So,
it just seems like they're just
man,
throwing it on there, and I don't know.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah, take it or leave it. I leave it. The Splendor
yeah.
Marvel.
I don't. Because I was going to talk to you about Splendor because man, it's just not fun.
It's boring
I
as
did not
hell.
enjoy it at all.
Cool, because there's
So,
no decisions really. I mean, because you just take a bunch of those deals, and then once they're gone, like people hoard them, so
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
stuff
I
to take,
mean,
and it's like,
it's
yeah,
just like, okay, I guess I'll just take this card that I can purchase, and oh, but you can hold on to one and get a wild, and ooh, oh my God, so much thought there.
yeah,
Bad. This is equally bad. I mean, in fact, it's actually worse because they are trying to capitalize and be like, "Ooh, Marvel, buy our game." Nope, actually, it's a capitalist approach, and so that makes it worse somehow.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm just gonna stick with Space Cowboys and their unlocked games. Everything else can just die.
There you go.
All right, my number two. Now we're in the worst. Godspeed. Ooh, man, Pandasaurus just knows how to make them bad now. Uh, this one just did not work at all for me. And it had the potential, but the theme, you would think the theme of this game, what they perceived it to be was that it's just like, oh, like we're heading to the moon, but lo and behold, that we were not the first ones there. Yeah, no, actually, that has nothing to do with it. You just you go to a planet, another planet, and other countries have already been there. Like, and that has no really implication of the actual gameplay. It's just theme. Oh, Japan was the first one here. Okay. Anyway, moving on. You go in
Yeah,
different phases. You have I just so much feel that Pandasaurus has a one-hit wonder with Dinosaur Island and their 4 different mini games, or that they've tried to implement that in every other game. Here it's the same. It's really the same way. You have tokens which represent your workers that have a range of like their strength for them, and you can opt like you have an event phase where it's like, oh, get rid of this token to prevent this from happening, and then you go to the bidding phase, and the bidding phase is horrendously bad. I absolutely hated it because these cards come out of buildings or abilities or assistants that you were trying to get, as well as the first player marker. Well, if you're the first one to bid and get something, well, then everyone gets something else. And then the last person or the first person gets something again from the leftovers. And so it's like, obviously, the person's just going to grab the first player marker so they can do it again. It's so frustrating. And then you have the different locations that you go to gather resources that you need to be able to build these buildings, or the unique buildings that you have. Well, not unique, everyone has the same ones, but building them in a different way. And you can make things cheaper. As your country, you can do something a little bit different than the rest of the players. But yeah, that freaking game was so boring. Every building you build, at least at the end of some games, you can at least be like, oh, here's what I've done. None of these buildings had any names on them, so you just had generic whatever, throw them down. The worker placement aspect of who can go where, like because the different workers had certain areas that they can go to, that had some thought to it, where it's like, okay, well, like the event comes up and you have to get rid of your captain, and it's like, oh man, okay, do I want to get rid of him for this round to prevent that? And so there is some thought with, you know, your bidding of the workers, but ultimately the game is overly long for what it was worth. The bidding was horrendously unbalanced. The theme is stupid, and I genuinely hated this game. I think I even won. Like I won when in the run through, and I was like, I still hate it. Like it wasn't fun. I didn't have a good time. So that is my number 2, Godspeed.
All right, my number 2. I promise this isn't a trend. Well, I guess it could be, I suppose.
Oh shit! You actually played it.
And it's another Marvel game. 3 straight Marvel. This one, no. The caveat being is I've played the retail version of this.
Okay.
So like the one they sell at Walmart.
Yeah.
But same game still. Just doesn't have all the special little
You
bits.
just don't have all the 200 heroes and 90 villains.
Well, that hasn't even come yet. And,
oh, right.
But so anyway,
there's Red Skull, Taskmaster, and
Ultron.
Ultron.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, this game was one that I played with the guys here in town again, and they, I did not. I thought about backing this, but at the end of the day, like, there's only so much Marvel a person needs. You know, like Marvel Champions takes up so much of my Marvel, theming. But this game,
and then not to mention Legendary Marvel.
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
It has everyone you could ever want.
Yes, exactly. This one, I don't know if it's a combination of the gameplay, which is superbly simplistic. I'm talking like, I think I remember seeing on BGG that this has a weight of like 1.6 or something like that out of 5 or something like that.
I knew it was simple. I didn't know it was that simple.
And then I don't know if it's a combination of that or the damn chibi characters, because that is just completely stupid. I mean, if you look at that picture right here that Kat has picked up, it's like Captain America looks like a 4-year-old. You know,
yeah. 1.89 is its complexity rating. Yeah.
So still
a little less than 2, but still less than 2
So pretty much the bad guys will be out there, and it's a weird shaped board anyway. It's a modular thing, and the bad guys are trying to accomplish their goals of evil.
Yeah.
And you guys, each character has their own unique deck of cards that they use to do stuff. But the whole point and the reason it's called Marvel United is because you want to try to work with your other people that are playing, because some of the things you do, you'll also get to use some of the special powers of the heroes you're next to, or they get to borrow some of your stuff. You kind of combine powers and stuff. Overall, I mean, this is probably the weakest CMON Minis game that I think I've ever played. And that's saying something, because they put out a lot of junk throughout the years.
Yeah. I remember seeing this, and I hate the was it Chibli?
The Chibli.
I hate its art. They look so freaking dumb. I was uninterested as soon as it was mentioned, and then I started watching run-throughs of it, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can look past the art. And then I was like, oh wow, that seems like it was geared towards kids. And I think that's why some people like it so much, is they can play it with their kids. And I'm like, I mean, to each their own, of course, but I don't have kids, and I don't want to play this with kids.
Yeah,
and,
well, yeah. I think the thing that made me just not get this, because I was looking at back in this too, but I was like, it's pretty much like the board is pointless. Like this, you're pretty much just playing a card game. The don't even really need minis. I mean, it's like, it's a card game,
right?
And that's it. And you're paying for all this other stuff. It's like, if I'm going to play a Marvel card game, I'm going to play Marvel Champions. You know?
Exactly.
And
and it's like, with that comparison, it's like, okay, I'll Marvel Champions already exists. All the heroes that they have here are already out for that game. All the villains they have here are already out for that game. And I was actually watching a run through for it, and the guy was explaining, oh, here's what Red Skull does, and here's what Captain America does. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds exactly like what they do in Marvel Champions. So it's not like there's really anything unique, except, yeah, you have locations you go to. Cool.
Yep.
All right, I guess.
Junk.
Yeah. It's Simon's attempt at him to capitalize just like every other company. And I mean, I guess if you have kids, it's great for you, but I mean, I didn't play it, so that's why it's not on my list. But I definitely researched it, and I was like, that is obviously not for me, and I don't want to spend the money. So.
I wouldn't.
All right. My number one. You have any guesses? It was on all of the Dice Tower's top 10 of the year.
Top 10, huh?
Yeah, they all liked it, and I'm like, that's a real shame because it's a bad game. This one actually made me mad.
Kickstarter? Is it a Kickstarter?
It is. It is a Kickstarter, yeah.
Is it a Kickstarter you recently gotten?
Yes, probably about a month.
Sold.
Yep.
How about
big grandiose game?
What is it? The one? Here's one. Does it make noises?
It does make noises.
Ah, yes, ELDERVALE.
Yep. Dwellings of ELDERVALE is my worst game of the year. Oh man! And so real quick, you asked if it made noises. It's basically they recorded them farting into a mic, just at different variations, and that's what the monsters sound like. Cool idea. They all sound the same. This game, now, caveat to the run through, because a lot of people seem to be bringing this up. Apparently, the way I set up the game was for 2 players, and we played it with 3. All right, fair enough. Fucked up there. However, that does not explain the mechanisms of this game being so piss poor. One of which is that the way the tile, I mean, you have tile laying, modular kind of tile laying. You can, as an action, a new tile comes out, and that's a new place you can go to basically take your worker, turn him into a house, and then now he's there. Essentially, there's elements in this game. You have 5 elements, and well, actually, it's depending on the number of players, but you have a certain number of elements that you're going up on this track. Well, the track indicates victory points at the end of the game. So for each card of that elemental color, you will have points for. So if you're on 5 in fire and you have 5 fire cards, you're going to get 25 points. Well, the reason why this game fell so flat for us were for 2 reasons. One, this is literally a top deck mechanism. Just keep doing it till you get points. All the different elemental cards, while they have unique abilities on them, no one gives a shit. We didn't give a shit what they did, because it's just like, oh, just move up on this elemental track and get those same color cards and get points. That's what the game boils down to anyway, trying to get the most points. So why would I even invest in like, oh, okay, well, what does this ability do? Because the game's not long enough anyway for it to matter, so I'm just going to try and get points. The monsters are there. There's a slight annoyance, but they're extremely easy to kill, and they most likely won't be coming back. So it's like, all right, well, even the coolest nature of the game just doesn't have. It's like, okay, well, they're off the board now, so let's turn off their wispy fart sound and then just never look at those again. And the miniatures aren't even that great either, but that's beside the point. The spells are incredibly random. It's a deck of spells, and some of them were just like, oh, get a free recruit, oh, get a free this, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, you have quests that are victory points at the end of the game, and then spells that you can just like, oh, win this battle, oh, free recruit, oh, so you don't even need resources, huh? You just get that guy for free. Oh, I never drew that card. It's like, all right, I hate that. And then the dumbest decision are these battles. Oh my god, the fighting is so bad. I cannot stress that enough. What you do is the more people, like you have workers and you have a knight that you can get out and a dragon and all that, and they have a strength. Well, that indicates how many dice you roll. But ultimately what it comes down to is if you roll a 6. Okay, well, I rolled a 6. Like if I roll 5 and you roll, one die, you roll a 6, I don't, you win. It's compared 1 to 1. Let's say we both roll 3 dice and you and I roll a 6, well, those are out. Now we look at the next highest number. You roll a 4, I roll a 5, I win. It's incredibly simplistic for 2020. I would expect this game in the fucking 40s. I don't know. Just that rule is so frustrating. And I can't tell you how many times in battle I'd roll like 4 dice and a friend rolls 1 and he rolls a 6 and I don't and he wins. It's like, that doesn't fucking thematic sense. I have more people here. I would win. Even for the enemies, for the boss, like for the monsters, same thing. They roll a certain number of dice, most likely around 4. Well, wow, look at you. You rolled a 6. All right, they didn't. You killed it. It's aggravatingly bad. And how I won this game was literally my entire turn was going through that spell deck, was funneling through that for quests that I could auto complete for endgame points. I literally spent the last like 3 turns of this whole game just funneling through that, and then eventually buying more cards because I was able to go up on like 3 tracks of the elements and be like, oh, well, I'm at 5 on 2 of them, so I'm just going to buy those cards because I know their points. I'm going to funnel through this fucking spell deck for more. And look at that. I win the game. Didn't really try. I mean, yep, I placed my houses, and I did do all that, but wow, jumbled mess of a fucking game. I don't get how it was on all 4 of the Dice Towers things. I don't get it. It just, maybe I don't know. Maybe they were paid. I don't know. Because I certainly wasn't. Man, this game was frustrating. Yeah. So that's my number 1 worst game of 2020.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Right. I will give them this. The storage system was really good, but they had game trays, so that will help. And I mean, they had unique races. Like there was probably like I think a total of 16. Like each of them were double-sided. So some workers, like my people were like the Cthulhu race. So their workers didn't have any abilities, but their wizards and other people did. So each race did feel somewhat unique. I just wish they would have gone in a different direction in terms of how points worked, and especially how fucking battle worked. Like, oh my god, it was so frustrating. Because it's like, yeah, I get the thought of I'm rolling more dice, therefore I should roll higher than you, but that is all based on luck, and it's just like, it's barbaric of a mechanic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Had potential because they had a lot of cool elements, like I think 8 total. With a unique deck. Those should have been something else. I don't know what, but this game should not have been it. So that's my number 1 worst game of 2020.
You're going to need to look up my number 1 because it's going to be hard to understand what I'm saying if you don't look at it. Okay. Control.
Oh, Control.
Have you played this?
Wow. No, I was told about it by my group up here, and it's the where you have like you're doing area control on like a block. Wow, Pandasaurus! It's a bad game. Is Scott Alms on here as well?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't know.
This game is, I don't know. I mean, I have a tough time even really calling this a board game. If you look at the pictures of it on BGG, it's like it's got these plastic blocks, and they're a lot like these blocks that I use in my classroom. and each person is a color, and you are putting blocks on this thing, you know, and people are adding blocks, and it just kind of turns into this whole convoluted, like, weird thing with sticks coming out all directions and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you score points by how much of your color is showing on the sides and all this different stuff, which in theory doesn't necessarily sound that bad. But when you are passing around a thing like this, and you are connecting different things, and the amount of times in just the one playthrough I did of this game that blocks were just falling off, and then you had to try to figure out where they were exactly again. And so it's not just a game quality, like the quality of the game, it's the quality of the components, like, or the idea, I guess, of the game. Just because when you have pieces falling off,
right,
and on a game like this where positioning is everything, because it looks like something that my first graders would like. Have you seen some of the? Are you looking at some of the pictures?
No, but I have seen.
Okay.
I have seen some of the pictures.
Okay. It's just like some of those things are just like, hey, kids, build something, and it's like they build all this stupid stuff, and
no.
That's
What happened is the designer was like sitting at home, and he's like, man, I have to turn in a game by next week. And then he looks over at his kids who were playing with blocks, and he's like, hold on a minute. And he like knees them out of the way. You're onto something. Okay, what if people put blocks on something and they compete? Yeah. That guy got fired, but they still made the game.
Well, I don't like the title either.
Oh yeah, it's stupid. And then here's the other thing: is this is also a game that you probably wouldn't want to play in 2020 because you have to fiddly hand people stuff, and it's just like, one person in the group is just like, oh, COVID is not a real thing, the government's just using it to control us. So he's like slobbering all over his fucking hand, and you're like, I don't want to touch that shit. Why do we hang out with you?
Well, and the thing is if you play this with two players, each player controls two colors, so then it becomes even more like,
I had no interest. Whenever the guy brought it up, I was like, I don't want to play that. Like,
well, and the weight of it's really, really low too. I can't remember what the weight was. The weight's like 1.25.
25. Yep. It is but the community says you can play it with 5-year-olds. So there you go. Maybe it's a perfect game for your classroom.
Yeah, I'd like to see a 5-year-old sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to try to control this whole side. They're just going to throw a damn blocks on there just because.
Yeah. Wow. No, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Another one of those Pandasaurus classics.
Yeah. God. Yeah, we had 2 Pandasaurus, 2 Scott Alms, and 3 Marvel. You had 3 Marvel on here?
Yep.
So, I mean, not all games can be winners. And definitely Control and Dwellings of Eldervale are not winners. None of these are. So those are our top 5 worst/disappointing games of 2020. Let us know what you think of the games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.